profile right-wing reactions to the brutal assassination of Charlie Kirk, I believe I've found the weirdest. Not the worst, but the weirdest. And it comes from right-wing podcaster and former Fox News host Megyn Kelly, who was apparently a close friend of Charlie Kirk's. But during an interview about Kirk's assassination, Kelly, who candidly admitted that she wants revenge and vengeance, also took the time to identify one major political leader that she believes is responsible, if not for the assassination itself, then for the political climate of divisiveness which might create the conditions for an assassination like this. And according to Megyn Kelly, that figure is Barack Obama. Check it out.
But I want to focus in on a contributor on your program, a legendary American journalist who also knew Charlie Kirk, Mark Halperin, who talked about the need not to find something positive, but to turn towards not vengeance, but grace. How are you handling the emotions of all of this?
You know, I'm torn because I like vengeance. You know, I was never a prosecutor, but I went to law school because I thought that's what I wanted to do with my life. I'm fine with vengeance, and I hope to see it exacted on the perpetrator of this crime.
I just want to stop there for just a second. That was a strange thing to say. Like you're going to hear something strange too about Obama in just a second, but even that alone was pretty weird when I heard it the first time, because it's like, obviously, when you feel that you've been wronged or if something terrible happens to somebody you love, it makes sense that you feel a sense of righteous anger and righteous vengeance, right? Like you're so viscerally furious. That's precisely why the justice system is not left in the hands of the survivors of those who have been wronged or those who have been wronged themselves, right? Like there's kind of a dispassion involved. But it's just very strange for her to admit that she's just a vengeful person, and that's why she went to law school, because she wanted to become a prosecutor. Like she thought the purpose of a prosecutor is not to deliver justice, but revenge. I appreciate the candor of that. It's just a kind of a weird thing to say. And listen, Charlie Kirk's assassin needs to be brought to justice. He's in custody. They should throw the book at him. I mean, all of that. But that's justice dealt by the state from a dispassionate, objective lens, not vengeance. And I think it's important that Megyn Kelly kind of looks at the two as exactly the same, which is kind of strange. Anyway, let's continue.
But I have kids, and I need to worry about the country they're going to grow up in. And not for nothing, Paul, but my kids are very jarred by this. You know, the kids over here loved Charlie. He was an important figure for them. They don't have a lot of heroes that they can look up to who they see in their spaces, you know, who are all over TikTok trying to talk to them, who go like on that show Surrounded where everybody yells at you. And that's something kids like, and who shows up there because that's where they go. All my kids knew Charlie, not personally, but knew of Charlie, watched Charlie clips. Like he was in their algorithm. And I said, absolutely, take more of it. You know, like that's one algorithm I'll support. But they have to grow up in this country. We don't feel like ourselves. We haven't felt like ourselves in a while. And I'm sorry to get political, but I'm just going to be honest. We haven't felt like ourselves since Barack Obama. I just think he was such a slick snake. You know, he was this affable guy who was like wearing good suits and looked the part and sounded the part and dressed the part, but was so divisive in his messaging. The left, they look at you like when you say this, they don't know what you're talking about. It's like, because you don't pay attention to the other half of the country. You only pay attention to your absurd news sources, which spin and spin and spin to protect Democrats, especially if they're named Obama. He's the one who started to inject race where no one had been doing it. He's the one who started to use his pen and the phone to shove things down our throat that we didn't want. He's the one who shoved through an entitlement on our health care and our personal doctor visits that he promised he wouldn't mess with, and then he did, really hurting people, causing massive anger and open lies. He never missed an opportunity to twist the knife on the racial issue. He would do it subtly and in his own way, but it was very clear what he was doing. For the first time, we had a president who weighed in on legal cases before they'd played out. We never did that. That was a taboo that had never been crossed before him. And Donald Trump was the reason Barack Obama, reverse that. Barack Obama was the reason Donald Trump came about, that he was born as a political figure, They say Trump's divisive. He was the antidote. He was the answer to the divisiveness of Barack Obama. And we just haven't felt like ourselves for years now.
That was the weirdest reaction I have seen to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Again, not the worst, because there have been open calls for violence and retribution and vengeance. I mean, Megyn Kelly saying she is fine with vengeance, and she says she wants vengeance at least localized towards the perpetrator. Again, it's kind of a strange sentiment to articulate, but certainly the perpetrator should be brought to justice. But for you to say it out loud, I'm okay with revenge. Again, it's kind of strange. So kudos to her for not openly calling for violence and retribution against liberals, progressives, and Democrats. So that's why I said it's not the worst, but that was the weirdest. Barack Obama hasn't been president since January 20th, 1201, 2017, right? And so it's like, why are you blaming him for what's happening in 2025? Moreover, this idea that Donald Trump has no agency, this is part of the frustration that I have with people like Megyn Kelly when it comes to their Trump apologia. And by the way, Megyn Kelly used to be a vociferous critic of Donald Trump, and she will still occasionally criticize Trump. But what you hear a lot of people do is they blame Trump on everybody else. You know, it's Barack Obama. Obama's the reason. It's like, dude, Donald Trump is an adult. He's a lot older than Obama. He has agency. He is responsible for his own choices. And you would never accept, and we could do an infinite regress. We could say, okay, Megyn, you feel that way about Obama? Well, really, it was because of Republicans, it's because of Newt Gingrich and Mitch McConnell and George Bush that we had Obama in the first place. Really, actually, again, it goes back to the right. It's the right's fault. If you guys hadn't been so terrible under Mitch McConnell and Newt Gingrich during the Clinton years and George W. Bush, then, you know, there would have been no need for Obama, and then there would have been no need for Trump. I mean, we could do this ridiculous tit for tat infinite regress. But what it comes down to is Megyn Kelly believes that only the left has agency. And the excesses of the right, the worst of the right, it's not really the right's fault. It's actually the left's fault. It's the left is responsible for the left's own actions and also for the worst of the right's actions. It's really absurd. And, you know, I would even understand better if she were to blame President Biden, because Biden was the last Democrat in power. Now, I still think it would be absurd, but for you to go all the way back to Obama, but yet then you have to remember, Megyn Kelly was part of Fox News, was a major player on Fox News during like the fake Obama. Do you remember when President Obama was in office? Maybe some of you don't. Maybe some of you like are too young that you don't remember that. But when Obama was president, Fox News reached for every excuse to try to pin a scandal on him. Where is his birth certificate? He's Kenyan. What about that preacher? He has a really divisive preacher who said all sorts of things. Oh my God, he wore a tan suit. A tan suit. Everybody, are you okay? Are you sitting down? President Obama wore a tan suit. Sure, Reagan wore a tan suit and other people wore, but not a black guy. Are you okay? Is that Fox? Are you okay? He had Dijon mustard. He didn't eat like regular mustard. He ate Dijon mustard on a hot dog. Like, this is the shit that they came up with. And listen, I gotta say, like, I think as far as domestic policy and domestic agenda, I think Biden was a much more successful president than Obama. But if they want to criticize, you know, she says the entitlement, she goes, the entitlement on healthcare, Obamacare is wildly popular. That's why Donald Trump can't get rid of it. Not really, because he's going to do everything in his power to weaken it. But that's why there's no political capital to actually try to get rid of it, because it's popular. More people like it than not. Then she says Obama lied. He said you could keep your doctor. And it turns out Obama was wrong. Okay, you can, if you want to call that a lie, fair enough. Maybe he did maliciously know better and he tried to deceive people. But what about Trump's lies about the 2020 election? What about his lies, all sorts of things from day one of his first term? He was lying about the size of his inaugural crowd compared to Obama's. In Trump's first term, there were more than 30,000 documented lies. None of that, not even close in terms of scale or frequency, matches to Obama or Biden. You'd probably have to put Obama, Biden, and Clinton together to get half of the number of lies told by Donald Trump. But again, she doesn't give a shit, because if she acknowledges Trump lies, which she doesn't, but if she did, it's Obama's fault. And so, like I said, to me, this is the weirdest reaction I have ever seen. And she's getting mocked for it, brutally mocked for it online. I'm going to just take a look here. John Harwood says the divisive thing about Obama was winning 2 presidential elections. White racists experienced that as a traumatic brain injury from which they've never recovered. Obama's presidency made racists lose their minds. Gloria Johnson, representative, I think what you mean, Megyn, is having a great black president made you guys realize you were racist. SV Dete from Huffington Post. Yes, how dare Obama become president when he knew damn well he was black. Joe Walsh, former Tea Party Republican congressman during the Obama years, says, oh, Megyn Kelly, you do not believe this. Please be better than this. Trump is the most divisive public figure in this country's history. Come on, be honest. Please try to unite this country. Don't go down this ugly partisan road. Come on, Megyn. That's a former Obama-era Tea Party Republican congressman. The Tea Party, for those of you, again, too young, that is the proto Freedom Caucus. That the Tea Party was the radical right wing part of the Republican Party during the age of Obama, right? The pre-MAGA version of the GOP. And this guy's like, you're full of shit. People saying they were calling Obama a Muslim, Arab, the Antichrist, and a communist even before he was elected. Trump is literally a birther. This idea that Obama's not even born in the United States, he's constitutionally ineligible. He was born in Kenya. Trump was more divisive than Trump. He makes a good point. Trump was more divisive than Obama during Obama's presidency. Imagine coming out and saying with your whole chest, if the black guy had never been elected, we wouldn't be here. And just it goes on like this. The idea that Obama was a divisive president that caused Trump is one of the most vile lies from conservatives. He tried to uphold every norm, every institution, held out an olive branch at every turn, and tried to get people health care. But he was black, so it's so funny to see her get mocked by this, and she should. It's just Trump is the antidote to Obama's divisiveness. It's just an incredible statement to make. How do the serious people on the right tolerate this stuff? We're not going to recover until we reckon with how uninformed and conspiratorial we become. Mehdi Hassan, friend of the show, says Trump spent years making racist remarks about Obama. For sure, Obama's the villain here. Also, Kelly opts to defend the guy who viciously abused her with misogynistic rhetoric over the guy who didn't. Eric Goldman, this is fucking bonkers. I know the root of it is pure old-fashioned racism and the horror that we had a black president, but the alternate reality being constructed here to try to delude everyone that's not motivated by racism and that Trump is an antidote is chilling. And he just goes on like this. I mean, it is. It's categorically stupid. It's a really, really dumb reaction. I mean, listen, again, I've condemned the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I will continue to do so. And Megyn Kelly is obviously upset because they had a personal relationship. Totally understandable. But blaming Democrats, and let alone Obama, who isn't even close to power now, he's been he hasn't been president since 2017, is just categorically absurd. And so, thus I say, not the worst reaction, but definitely the weirdest. Let me know what you think in the comments.